have the bebop scale, enclosures and pivots in your playing like Charlie Parker, your jazz sound will just become that much stronger. These three techniques are such a huge part of jazz playing for beginners, intermediates and advanced players that it's a must. You must have this in your vocabulary. When I started checking out these three techniques, it was a real game changer for me. I went from a diatonic player like regular plain diatonic playing up and down the chords and the scales, to real elaborate arpeggio movements using the pivots, using chromatics and using this beautiful bebop scale that can take you anywhere. Through rather simple exercises you can put in any form, in any tune. You can easily get these bebop angles into your playing. Are you ready to join me into the world of bebop and probably the greatest way to learn the jazz language? The bebop scale is basically a Mixolydian dominant scale, so from the fifth of the major scale. So on G major is D7, and then you add this extra chromatic step between the seventh and the root. So on a D7 you'll have a C, C sharp and a D. And that's where the bebop in the bebop scale lies, this chromatic tone. This version of the bebop scale, when you have the bebop scale starting on the beat, on one of the chord tones, you get all the chord tones placed on the beat, and that makes a very strong sound of the chord. So train the bebop scale playing it down the scale like this, and then the bebop scale is very much plug and play. You can basically take the scale, add it into the D7 chord, and there you have it. You have already the first lick. You see that I can literally copy paste any of these four licks on the D7 chord into my D7 G major lick. Add the bebop scale on the dominant, add a small ending on the tonic, boom, you're good to go. When you want to play along with these lines or check them out in a little bit slower tempo than this, grab the PDF on Patreon. All licks, all exercises, everything is there in all 12 keys for you to explore. The link to Patreon and the possibility to download this PDF is just below in the description. Now let's get on with the next extremely powerful bebop trick. Enclosures are such a huge part of bebop and jazz music, of course. Enclosures, they prepare the coming tone by encircling it. So the enclosure is a rhythmical suspense of the target note you want to play. This means that your target notes are not more in the obvious places, that you're kind of moving them to the weak beats, the 2 and 4 sometimes. In this line I want to dig into the second enclosure, the G, F, F sharp. This enclosure is a diatonic tone above the target note, a chromatic tone below the target note, and then hitting that target note. Try play this with me. Like with the earlier bebop scale, getting these enclosures into your fingers is extremely important, because else they are difficult to execute. You need to have all these techniques in your fingers that you're ready to play them when you need them. So with all new techniques, I really like to take an exercise or make an exercise and play these enclosures till I got a hang of them. And now immediately after training the technique, I add these into my playing. I add the new enclosures into licks. So here I've added an enclosure to the A, so B, G sharp, A, moving up that A minor. In the beginning when I composed these lines, I composed really simple lines, just a plain arpeggio and some scale down, because I want to focus my energy on playing the enclosure. What is the sound of the enclosure? This is what I want to learn. In this line you can see that I fit the enclosure in different places, and basically the enclosure fits wherever you hear it. So start fooling around with how can I place enclosures different places. This mixes up your lines and get you kind of an offbeat feeling in the line. In the earlier line, the first enclosure is a little bit more weird because it's a chromatic, double chromatic enclosure. You have a chromatic note above and a chromatic note under your target note. So it breaks the diatonic rules. This means you get these outside sounds, and I really like this. Again, the first thing I do is train this up the scale. So I have the scale, these are my target notes, and then I put chromatic tones around the target notes before the target note to get this sound into my ears. I place it immediately into licks. Now listen really carefully to this B flat. It's so much outside that A minor D7, but it resolves beautifully into that A. I really like this chromatic enclosure because it takes me kind of outside the sounds I'm used to here, the diatonic sounds. Check out this line. The first part, the F D sharp, is quite outside. But what's really outside is the C sharp. So have fun with enclosures, they are amazing. Now let's get on with the most powerful sound in bebop. This is the pivot. The pivot is amazing because it really breaks up your lines. When you're playing just normal lines, you can break up a line and it just sounds unnatural almost. The pivot is when you take a normal chord. So you have a 4-note chord like the A minor, A, C, E, G. Then the root, the A, you put up top and you start playing the A, and then you play the normal arpeggio where it normally is. So you play high A, down C, E, G. Then you get this beautiful 6th jump. With this huge jump down, you really change the flow of your lines, and this is a really clear bebop sound. Again, train the sound in an exercise because it's just great to have it in your fingers when you have to play it in your licks. I basically play all the arpeggios in the scale and then I play them as a pivot. Keep training them till they run kind of fluently. And now let's make some licks. Add the pivot anywhere in a line. Really try experimenting with what works and what doesn't work. I'm adding the pivot on the 3rd beat of this lick. So basically I'm playing a B minor 7 chord on the 3rd beat of that A minor chord. Why does it work? Because it leads so much into that A minor 7 arpeggio I'm playing in the 2nd bar. Really remember to listen to the sound of the pivot because some of them does not work everywhere. But when you have a great sound with the pivot, well, you win. So not only do you get all the small licks in these lessons, I also make a lot of new licks. Over different 2-5-1s and also over the form of confirmation. This is what you get when you download the PDF from Patreon. Tons of licks, tons of exercises explaining the pivot, explaining the enclosures and explaining the bebop scale even more than what I did in this lesson. The purpose is really moving easily from exercise and technique into playing music with the things that you have in your fingers. Start playing music, start using these 3 extremely great bebop tools in your own playing. On Patreon you can of course ask me all the questions you have and I will guide you towards the best material that fits you. The link to Patreon and the PDF download is just below in the description. Breaker, Chris Potter, all the greats learned from Charlie Parker. This video is a deep dive into how these 3 greats use enclosures in their playing. Play music, have fun.